Are businesses truly leveraging technology to streamline their operations and enhance scalability? Well, today on Tech Talks Daily, my guest today is from a company called Celigo, a company at the forefront of redefining how businesses integrate and automate their processes. And in this episode, we'll discover how their approach is not only improving efficiency, but also empowering citizen integrators to take a more active role in organisations' technological advancements. From enhancing global operations to tailoring solutions for e-commerce and retail sectors, we're going to attempt to uncover how integration platforms can transform business landscapes. But enough scene setting for me. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Amsterdam, where today's guest is waiting to join me. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yes, first thanks, Neil, for having me. My name is Gert-Jan Wijman. I'm Vice President and General Manager for the EMEA region at Celigo. And I have a 30 years career in enterprise software, working with different product categories from PLM, e-learning, asset information management, enterprise architecture, and now in integration and automation.
Well, automation is a huge topic right now, and that's one of the reasons I invited you on. I wanted to demystify a few things around that, and I am conscious there will be a few people listening, hearing about Celigo for the first time. So just to set the scene for the conversation, can you tell me a little bit more about Celigo's approach to automation, how it enhances both efficiency and scalability for businesses? Because I think very often people can get lost in the technology or the solution, but it's that delivery, isn't it, of efficiency and scalability, etc. That's where the magic happens.
Yes, you're right. And there are also many different approaches to automation, of course, and there's different ways of maybe achieving a certain outcome. So Celigo's approach is that what we do is that we allow companies to run an integrated business process over different applications. So key business processes like, for example, order to cash are being executed with different underlying applications, being an ERP or an online store, a warehouse systems, or a third-party logistics system. And if these systems are not connected and the data do not flow from one system to the other, then it will require human intervention to have that process run end to end. And what we do is that we eliminate that human intervention, allow the data to flow from one system to the other. And in this way, we remove the human bottleneck and make the business process scalable. Now, that is how the scalability is achieved. When it comes to the efficiency, there are different ways of making these connections. Obviously, we provide for that platform, which we call an iPaaS. You can see it as what used to be called middleware prior to the age of the cloud. And that iPaaS allows to build, maintain, and operate these underlying integrations to allow or to support the automated business process to be done in a much more efficient way. And especially that operation side is important because business processes have errors that occur, and maintaining them is also sometimes a massive challenge because business processes change over time as the company changes, etc. And so having a platform where you can do that efficiently is pretty important to be agile.
It really is. And every IT department I've ever been a part of or encountered are always super tight on resources and do so much with a short or a smallish team. And one of the things that stood out for me as well about when I was researching you at Celigo was how you're helping organisations tap into some of that underused tech talent and mitigate the strain on their IT departments through automation. Is that something you can expand on too, and how you do that?
Yeah. So this is indeed a topic that a lot of industry analysts also write about these days. And so there's a lot of tech talent in companies today that is not necessarily part of the traditional IT department. Think here also of the younger generations. They do not only have that talent, but they also have a different experience should be working and interacting with the systems. And they are maybe also sometimes a little bit more autonomous in that regard. So that talent is there, and that's a huge opportunity for those IT leaders that see that as a way to build leverage, to deliver solutions for the company and to push the company forward in wider digital transformation initiatives. Now, that is, of course, the theory. It can only happen when these citizen integrators, as we call that tech talent in the business, as they have the opportunity through a relatively, let's say, easy to use platform that is catered to their specific role, that they can contribute to these automation initiatives. And that is what we provide. And in that way, they can play a crucial role, not only because of their technical skills, but also because they bring more business context and sometimes have better understanding of the desired business process than the IT people have. So in this way, it benefits. It's not only additional resource and additional talent, but it is also a different perspective that can bring better business outcomes.
This is a tech podcast, which means we have both done brilliantly to go 10 minutes without mentioning AI, but it is the talk of the town at the moment. But again, I want to focus less on AI and more about the business value that AI can generate. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you see the role of AI in enhancing integration solutions and how it interacts with existing automation frameworks? Because again, that's the cool part, isn't it?
It is. It is. So actually, we're doing already for a long time, we're building AI into the product. So prior that it became sort of very much front and center due to these large language models. So an area where we have focused on traditionally is on the error management side. So this is about the operational phase where the business process is being executed and errors do occur. Errors occur because of data incompatibility. Errors occur, for example, because one of the application that is supporting the business process is going down. And in these situations, the would be that the platform is so intelligent that it can auto-resolve the situation. And for that, we built in this intelligence that can track based on patterns or based on resolutions of the past, what is the best course of action to resolve a certain error. If it cannot be done automatically, then at least it should give an intelligent update to the operator and instructions what they can do in order to resolve the problem. So error management and making the management of the business processes more efficient.
And of course, knowing what they need to do, that in some ways, that's the easy part. But when embarking on that journey, there's a few hurdles that can crop up. So what are some of the common challenges that you've seen businesses face when implementing automation? And how are you at Celigo addressing some of these hurdles?
Yes. Yeah. So indeed, there are hurdles. And like everywhere in IT, projects can fail if not done in the right way. It's not only about technology, there are also cultural sides, etc., etc. Couple of very specific things that we see. So one area is lack of business process maturity. So companies not having really explicit business processes documented or do not have the idea what it should look like going forward. And in those situations, what can help a lot is if there are templates or even pre-built integrations that are best practices from different industries, and that can be leveraged as a starting point to implement a certain business process. So, for example, I mentioned earlier the order-to-cash process. At a higher level, it is totally uninteresting what are the underlying ERP or storefront or 3PL or etc. It is at a higher aggregate. It is a similar type of process, and we can provide these recipes through our platform, and we provide them for free in most cases to our clients so that they can leverage them. And in that way, they have a fast track to a best practice business process that otherwise they would have to invent themselves. And that would take a lot of time and can be also pretty painful. Now, another area is if a company has a sort of structure where all automation and integration is delegated to IT. So different than what we talked about before. And the business is just the customer waiting for certain outcomes to be delivered to them or solutions. Then there is typically a very large, and in these situations, the prior approach that we talked about, so leveraging the business and using a platform that can also be used by the business, can be a way to reduce that backlog or to even let that disappear.
There's an old saying, I think it was an IBM leader nearly 10 years ago, and she said that the last best experience we have anywhere becomes the standard expectation for every future experience we want everywhere. So how does integrating different business applications, how does that influence the overall customer and employee experience within a company? Because again, huge talking point right now.
So starting with the employee experience, I think there's different ways that automation can impact them actually in a positive way. There's, of course, always concern about maybe job losses that are associated with it. But the way we see it is that freeing employees up by letting them do creative things instead of repetitive tasks is an enormous plus. This is something that's a win for the business as well as for the employee. And another area where we think automation can also play an important role is in the overall experience of an employee working at a certain company. And think here about having really a consistent experience working with the different business processes, regardless of where you work from in a geographic sense, or whether that's remote or in an office. And that is, of course, also in the last couple of years with the COVID, that has been a huge topic. And for us, actually a driver also for more demand for our type of solutions.
And what about the customer experience side of things? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, so for the customers, automation is really essential in retail for having a good experience with the seller. That is fundamental for repeat orders, for loyalty and all these things. And without integration, you are really not able to provide that consistency and ease of to do business with. So think here of somebody doing an online purchase, and instead of returning it in the, let's say, traditional way through the online store, decides, no, I want to bring it in a physical store back. If you do not have integrations, then your systems will not be able to deal with such a scenario. Another tiny example is a shopper who is looking for something on your website. And if they see there are things that are for sale, but they are not in store in the end, then that is always a big frustration. So display information of stock that is available, and then prevent people from having disappointments. Another example where integration is key in order to make the experience pleasant for the shopper.
And at a time where every business leader is challenged with doing more with less, every tech project now has got a huge focus on it for things like ROI, what business value is it going to generate? So just to bring to life everything we're talking about here, are you able to provide any examples of how automation has successfully benefited, let's say, the e-commerce and retail sectors, just to bring that to life a little?
Yeah. So as an example, that's always easier to use specific cases for this. We have the privilege to work with a couple of companies that are being called or labeled as brand aggregators. So these are companies that, for example, drive consolidation on Amazon as a marketplace. There are also other marketplaces for which this exists. And these companies get funding in order to buy Amazon sellers and to drive economies of scale. And so what they do is they look for targets to buy, and then they need to integrate these companies as fast as possible. And so in order to do that, they basically use their complete order to cash process that they have developed on their side and connect that to the Amazon store of the companies that they acquired. So it is a system of cloning, and it allows them very quickly to consolidate these companies in their complete back-end systems. And this is, of course, for a company like this is not only something like an ROI or something like that. This is basically enable them to justify the whole rationale behind why they exist, right? This is the execution of their business model. So it is a strategic need to be able to do this. Similarly, you can see this also, this concept is, by the way, also used for companies who want to expand internationally to different Amazon marketplaces. So if they buy a seller that's, for example, active only on the US marketplace, then they can also use this same principle of cloning in order to bring this brand to marketplaces globally. It's not a copy paste exactly, but it has a lot of cloning in it that can be reused. And then you have to tweak some things, and then you have very quickly a larger international presence and a lot of more consumers that you can interact with.
And looking ahead, are there any emerging trends or technologies in automation that excite you, or something that you just think will be or could significantly impact business processes in the future? Is anything got your eye on there?
Yes, definitely. So it's important to understand that what we do is we focus on mid-market companies. And what we see is that different domains in what is called a larger automation space are more and more overlapping. So I think here of areas like integration and automation, but also robotic process automation, specifically business process management, API management, etc. And what we think is that going forward, especially in the mid-market, that companies will not go and buy a best-in-class product in all of these different categories, but that they rather would like to work with a platform that can support many of these functions, maybe not as deep as large enterprises need, but that help them to do a lot of different things with a single application. And this is also a little bit our roadmap. So we try to evolve ourselves to position ourselves going forward as a wider automation platform for automation initiatives for the mid-market.
I love that. And thank you so much for coming on here, sharing so many incredible insights today that I know will be very useful for business leaders listening. And I think a lot of business leaders listening, they're all feeling the same thing at the moment, where we're all trapped in this cycle of continuous learning, where every day we're having to learn something new to keep up to speed with the pace of technological change. So to throw that over to you, I've got to ask, as someone right in the heart of this space, where or how do you self-educate? How do you keep up to speed with everything?
Yes, no, I told you I had 30 years in business. So I learned from young employees. They come with different and fresh ideas. But I also leverage, of course, a little bit the things I've seen before. But you have to do also your reading and research, both externally. And we do also some internal research about the market and where things are going. Reading specific media, and in the end, maybe first of all, listen to customers and what they're telling, what they're doing. So it is a lot of things. And that's also what it makes all exciting, right? This is a space that is super rapidly developing. And just what we talked about earlier, that merger of all these overlapping areas is going to be really interesting, how that will play out. And yeah, that is where we are, and we are in that. And we can all experience that. By the way, for all our Celigo stakeholders, so that being our employees, but also our partners and our customers, we have built something that we call Celigo University, which is free online training and allowing all these stakeholders to learn about us and our platform anytime, anywhere. And that is something that we provide. So also a little bit catering to the need. People need to be able to learn about you in a flexible way. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, again, thanks for joining me today. But for anyone listening that would just like to find out more information about Celigo and all the topics we explored today, maybe they want to dig a bit deeper or contact you or your team, what's the best starting point for everything?
Yeah. So Celigo.com is our website. It's also the best source for information. It gives you also access to our blog where people write about different trends and ideas and what they see in the industry. So it's not only, let's say, it's a thought leadership type of area as well. So that could be interesting for the listeners, I guess. And of course, the rest of the website can also be relevant, but that speaks for itself, I think.
Perfect. Well, I'll get those links added so people can find that nice and easily. And one of the things I've loved chatting with you about today is not just about the technology, but how technology is helping businesses improve efficiency and scalability, and how the proper platform and integration approach can help them unlock underused business technology, lessen the burden on IT while still giving them oversight. Pure gold. And I'm hoping that's going to set off a few light bulb moments for people listening. But thank you just for sitting down and sharing that with me today.
Okay, it was a pleasure to be here, Neil. And yeah, let's meet again.
The big takeaway from my conversation today is that thoughtful integration and automation strategies can significantly boost operational efficiency and scalability, especially in diverse and dynamic sectors like e-commerce and retail. And yes, as businesses continue to navigate these complexities of global markets and technological advancements, the insights shared today by my guest highlight the crucial role of platforms like Celigo in helping facilitate seamless automated processes. It's not something you need to do on your own. But what are your thoughts on using such integrations in your own business strategies? Do you see a future where every employee could contribute to automation? As always, the drill, share your perspectives with me by continuing the conversation. You can do that by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilC.Hughes. Let me know your thoughts on this, and I'm also got a fantastic guest lined up tomorrow, but a completely different topic. I'll be waiting bright and early in your podcast feed, waiting for you to hit the play button. Hopefully you'll join me again tomorrow, but until next time, don't be a stranger.